They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no gang. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Movie night at the museum, and I will allow Brother Lester to introduce himself to you all this evening.
My name is Lester Muhammad. Been a Muslim for many, many years. As part of the transition, or part of that first experience of the social reform movement called the Nation of Islam. So tonight, this transition going to the best practices of Al-Islam and the leadership of Imam Muhammad. Tonight, what we want to do is just want to walk you through some of the history of our community, going all the way back, all the way into the very early beginnings, to where we are today in 2021, and the significance of why and where we are right now, and at this time.
So let us start at the beginning of the exhibit, and can we explain what's going on here, Brother Lester? What do we have here?
Let's start at the top.
Let's start at the top.
All right, because a lot of the work that was done, a lot of the history of our community was a lot of the graphics and a lot of the artwork was done by the Muhammad Speaks staff, the graphic artists. There was a team of brothers, and I don't know how many sisters, if there were sisters that were on that team of the actual graphic artists, but I'm sure that there were many. And they did a lot of the great illustrations and the graphics of the community. And this one here, I believe, was done by Eugene Majid. And it's really the Islamic Center. And it's a community starting to build out the university, the school, and all of those things of that nature. What's very important here is when we look at this, and we look at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he wanted to do, and made sure it was crystal clear. He said, I'm not here to teach you Islam. My job is to clean you up. The one who comes after me will teach you Islam. And his wife, Sister Claire Muhammad, who really carried the nation for many years while her husband was on the run or incarcerated, helped in bringing about that school system that really is one of the key pieces, even today, of, as you can see, just that homeschooling and setting up the University of Islam and keeping that running in all these years. And right now, the schools in our association are named after Sister Claire Muhammad. One of the areas that really is a special interest to me is economic developments and finance. And this is one of the areas in the Quran that gives us a lot of information about how we to handle our economic affairs. But one thing that has really stood out was in 1975, October the 15th, 1975, Imam Muhammad was teaching, or the ministers who were transitioning to be imams was holding a meeting there. And at this time, he told the brothers who were transitioning to be imams, he said, put down my father's books. He never even wrote them. He said, you won't be helping me. You'll be amusing yourself, but you won't be helping me. And he asked us to start teaching, or asked the imams at that time to start teaching from this book. And we have that book down there. So when we get to talk about the books, I'll go through that book a little bit. This is some of the community things and the projects and the building development that we had during that time, whether it was the Guarantee Bank, the University of Islam School, 7351 South Stony, Shabazz, the bakeries, the farmland, the clothing factory, sales and office buildings, proposals to build model communities in the Chicago and around the country. This was all part of that first 45 years of that social reform movement that we call the Nation of Islam. So as we transition from 75 into the best practices of Al-Islam, and Imam Muhammad immediately moved the community in that direction. Through Allah's mercy and forgiveness, he allowed our community to transition to the best practices of Al-Islam. And Imam Muhammad took the lead and he just kept on going. This is a picture of Imam Muhammad honoring the pioneers in our community. And this is at the National House. And this brother here is Brother Kareem Muhammad. And he was one of the pioneers way back in that time. This photograph here is of Imam Muhammad at 7351 South Stony. And I have a lot of people that says, well, I have never really seen the Imam in a jalabia. Not only wasn't this a jalabia that he had, but this was made in Chicago by a manufacturing company called Faiz Fashion. And the sister that owns this was Sister Karima Faiz. And she made this jalabia for Imam Muhammad. This photo here is a historical photo. This photo and the negative was really, there's a history to this that's unreal. This was found in the dumpster at the Muhammad Speaks plants when they was transitioning to the American pouch food. Myself and Brother Ahmed Shuaib was down there to pick up the paper nationals, and we just happened to discover a lot of the photographs, negatives, and a lot of the history, the photo history of the community in dumpsters. So we just gathered up some, and over the years, maybe about 10, 15 years later, I decided to have some of this, I have the original negative and everything of this photograph here. And so we had it, we had copies of it made, and I looked at it and I said, wow. And then I recognized a lot of these people on this photograph. And that first row, I don't know if you can get in closer, you have Minister James Shabazz or Sheikh Shabazz. This brother here is a First Officer Clarendon. This is a Supreme Captain Raymond Sharif. Many people didn't know, but Muhammad Ali was an FOI captain before he became the minister. And he's FOI, this is in his captain's uniform. And this is Elijah Muhammad II. This is John Ali, and this is the first Officer Abraham Bacha in that photograph. And one night we were at the in Atlantic City. Muhammad Ali would come to Atlantic City from time to time, and we were at the, I'm not sure what fight it was, but I had this photograph with me, and I showed it to him. And I asked him, I said, do you recognize anybody in there? So he says to me, he looks at it, he said, that's me. So I said, Champ, did they ever show you this photograph? He said, no, he never saw it before. So he wanted to put it in his pocket. I said, no, Champ, I need you to autograph it for me. So he autographed it for me. And then he pulled out a photograph of him, I think Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis. That was part of that history there. And from time to time, when he would come to Atlantic City, I would help him. I would be assigned to help him. Imam Kyrie would ask me to help him whenever he was in the city and doing some of the things that he was doing. This self-explanatory, Sister making dua and al-Fatihah, and this is all part of that. This photograph here, this photograph was actually it's black and white originally. A brother said that he actually had color put in this photograph. This was a black and white photo, from what I understand. We have identified all the brothers in this detail here with Al-Haji Malik Shabazz, except for this brother right here. So if you know him, we need to identify
the lone soldier. We need to identify the lone soldier right here, man.
That brother there. But this is Liad Amir. That's Minister James Shabazz. That's Captain Yusuf. That's Al-Haji Malik Shabazz. Gladstone. That's Maceo. One or two of these brothers is at a Buffalo, and I'm trying to think the other two. But we've identified everybody that was in that detail except for this brother right here. This here's a photograph of myself and Muhammad Ali. He was in Atlantic City, like I said, for one of the fights. But one of the biggest things that he used to do when he was traveling at that time, dawah. And a lot of the dawah work that he did during those years was basically signing pamphlets and then pamphlets like this and asking that question: is Jesus, peace and blessings all be upon him, really God? Just helping the people, just bringing and doing the work that we have been charged to do, just to help people to, and part of, as we go forward, you'll see, as Imam Muhammad when he came into office, in this image here, he says, I was born for a mission. And his mission, was, to me, was to number of things. Well, number one was to clear up the confusion that we had in our understanding of al-Islam. That's the first thing he did. So, and Allah blessed him and blessed our community and allowed our community to transition to the best practices of al-Islam. So through Allah's mercy and forgiveness, he allowed our community to transition from the misunderstandings that we had of al-Islam at that time. And it was a beautiful thing. And throughout. And one of the things that when you look at all of this, this history up here, you'll see most of it, a lot of it came from our newspapers, which was the Muhammad Speaks. It goes all the way back to the Final Call. And then I think there was an Islamic News. I'm trying to name them all.
Somali News.
Yeah, no, you had Mr. Muhammad Speaks. Muhammad Speaks. Then you had the Balalian News. Then you had the World Islamic News.
The World Islamic News, yes.
Right. And then you had, I think, the Muslim Journal.
Eventually, yes.
Right, Muslim Journal. Yeah. So, and this was one of the things here. This photograph.
January 20th,
January 20th,
1978.
1978. Imam Muhammad was at the White House along with other leaders. And at that time, he was there. And if I could read this caption here.
It says Imam Wallace B. Muhammad greeted President Jimmy Carter in a recent historic meeting when a group of prominent Bilalians attended a White House conference on unemployment and urban problems.
Is that where we are right now?
Yes, sir.
2021? All right. So we were there at the table then, and we should be there at the table today. In fact, we should be leading the way.
Yes.
And in fact, when you go back and you listen to that historical address that Imam Muhammad gave, and think about this. The 4th of July, 1976, Imam Muhammad gave a historical address at 7351 South Stony on the need for leadership.
I remember that. Yes.
Now think about that. Now who does that? But this man sat down, we were in Chicago, and he was telling us about the problems that we're facing right now, today, 2021.
So this was no photo op. This was no photo op. We didn't go take pictures of politicians and famous people. No, this is the Imam leading the delegation of other Black prominent Bilalian leaders. You know, and they went to the table, like Brother Lester said, and they got something out of it. Brother Lester, before we move on, can you explain what came out of this?
Well, I'm not sure totally but you said you had looked at, read some of it.
Yeah, I mean, they came out with again some tangibles, what they call now the what people would call now the minority women, the MWBEs, the minority women business. They had something like that during that time, but it wasn't called that. It was called something else, I believe. And out of that came some international. Don't quote me, but I think it had something to do with Asia. You know, there was something that came out of this meeting, and it wasn't just people just meeting. So we just want to be clear that the Imam strategically met with dignitaries like Jimmy Carter and other dignitaries, other presidents, and other dignitaries across the world for what? Either address social economic needs or also education, like what he did in Syria, when it was supposed to be the Syrian even though I'm skipping, that's way ahead. But when he met with Syria, that was supposed to be for education and also for business, economic growth. But we only got education out of that, so the Imam kind of cut that out. But but this was very important right here. This is very important. I like this picture right here.
And a lot of my history in that first 45 years dealt with economic development, growth, and it dealt with building communities.
But it said that the Imam, the first 20 years, just to be clear, that he spent a lot of time demystifying and bringing us to what they call, quote unquote, Quran and Islam. The last 10 years of his life, he said he wanted to spend more time with us developing more economics, more time. That's about more recent before he passed. Before he passed, he wanted to go focus back to that again. Could you explain a little bit?
Let me go back. Let me go back first, because that's the key.
Yes.
When you start to really look at, and I'm gonna stay with that first 45-year window.
Sure.
And that was part of the social reform movement. And a lot of the economic development and the ideas and the concepts came from that first 45 years because we were able to make a lot of progress then as far as building, trade, commerce. And just to give you an example, not only weren't the schools set up, but you had manufacturing plants. This was in Philly. You had this in Chicago. You had the TV programs going, media going in Philadelphia. You had the fish team going, and this was all across the country. You had fish teams going, and these were creating jobs. And
employing our people.
And in fact, as we go through those books there, you'll find that those businesses were very profitable. They made a lot of money. This is really one of the other special pieces that we, when we look at it today, you talk about food deserts in our communities.
Yes.
So all across the country, the Muslims were setting up marketplaces in our community. And this happened to be one in LA. We had one in Chicago, and then we had them all over the place. But this is what we need to get back to today, as far as helping to solve the food deserts and food insecurities in our community. And this was a full service market, produce, health food. You had the fish sausage, you had everything.
Fish
all
sausage.
that stuff. Fish sausage. Think about that. Think about that. So all of these things were available in that period of time. And that fish program, when you look at this fish program, that did a whole lot.
And you told me it didn't start in Peru, though. Remember?
That fish program, when you go back to it, actually, I think they started this in Japan. And not Ali could probably cover more of this because he was the one that was really the point person for the Nation of Islam with the fish program. And but that fish program, we have a book here that has a lot of the receipts and a lot of the history of that and the statements from the activities of the fish program.
It became so popular that the group Kool and the Gang made a song called "Why He Ain't Eating Fish." That's how popular it was, man.
But there was so much in that first 45 years. And I just want to just want to show you, these are the things that were happening during that time. During that first 45 years. You had the Salam restaurant. You had the different places. We were actually trying to purchase and build hospitals at that time.
Where was this at? Do you know?
This
was just a template.
But this was actually, they were trying to establish a hospital and on Lakeshore Drive, over the South Shore Country Club. But we couldn't. That didn't go into. That didn't happen. But this building here sells. This was the clothing Temple Number 2 clothing store and office space on the second floor. A lot of this stuff, Shabazz Bakery. I worked. This was my first job in Chicago when I went out there, Chicago, to the Shabazz Bakery on 79th Street. Your supermarket, which was right there on 80 between like 83rd and 84th.
And this is all in Chicago.
This was in Chicago. This here is the sales and office building, 7801 South Cottage Grove. This building was actually built from the ground up and was paid for with cash. This is another thing, the Guarantee Bank, which is at 68th and Stony Island. Again, historical. This is something that we need to get back into in terms of setting up banking. And now we're talking about this again with the credit union. So hopefully this stuff will be coming as we move forward. 7351 South Stony. This is part of the school complex there, which is still standing. And we'll get into that as we talk about the Libyan loan.
40. This is the terminal. There were over 40 of these schools across America. Just want to highlight that because that's not how much we have left now.
No.
But just let people know, we have 40 of these educational institutions across America.
And this is right at the school there. This is, again, Islamic University. And one of the vision of Imam, not only his father and the community at the time, was to build communities, model community cities and stuff like that. This is the import store, I believe, and here. This is something very special. I need to hold on to this. I'm going to share this with you a little later. But you had your transportation, your trucking. So you're talking now about, we're talking now about what? what's it called? What is the term they use? Amazon. What is
Fulfillment.
fulfillment
centers. So we
had
pioneered the fulfillment centers basically.
We had your airplanes, you had your trucks, you had your trailers, you had your processing plants, you had your farms.
So they go to chickens.
Yeah,
chickens.
You had everything.
And they go to 8 cartons that we see.
That's right. That's right. So all of this stuff was there.
Mhm.
So we were there. We had a newspaper plant, printing plant, over at 26 and Federal. All of this stuff was there. All of this was all part of our history. And
Wait, pause right here. Muslim homes. Can you
That's
go
right.
over this?
Oh,
So we were providing housing to people as well.
more housing. In fact, I lived in 2 of the housing developments, and we had large blocks of 87th Street. We had large developments there that ran blocks.
Mhm.
And these were all around Chicago and some around different parts of the country.
Mm.
So you had houses and real estate and all of this. The Muslim farms, the farms were big. You were growing everything, apples, you were growing fruit, produce, cattle, eggs, canning factories. All of these things is all part of what we did in the first 45 years of our growth and development. All of this needs to be done again. We need to rebuild the brand and we begin to start to do this again. And it can be done.
In Michigan, it says, I just want to just capture a little bit of this before we move on. It says in Michigan, they had 1,000 acres, which was utilized mostly in corn because of its highly nutrient value. And the complex maintained 2 great silos and a storage bin to house our crop. They said they hold 100,000 bushels each, and the farm also has 5 grain bins, which holds 20,000 bushels each. This feed is utilized in feeding our Michigan chickens in the 2-house egg factory, which we probably saw before, containing 40,000 chickens, beloved. 40,000 chickens, man. That's a lot of chickens.
So so it's it's just so much that happened in that first
the Phoenix proposal.
The Phoenix proposal, like I said, all across the country, we were talking about
new homes constructed,
new home construction developments all across the country. This was all part of that vision and all part of the mission in that first 45 years. A lot of this got done. A lot of this was still on the drawing board, but this was a vision that we had, and this was the direction that we were going in. So, and we were just moving. We were moving and growing at a great pace at that time. A couple of things that really stood out. Like I said, the fish program, we talked about that for a second. But in the fish program,
so let's look at it. Let's look at it a little more deftly.
So we talk about that fish program. We talk about what was going on during that time. And this was in November 15th, 1974. So the wholesale price of that fish, and we had two ways it came. It came 10-pound slabs, and then it came the 5-pound boxes. So in the 10-pound slabs, you could buy, the wholesale price was 37 cents per pound. The wholesale price for the 5-pound boxes was 42 cents a pound.
Wow.
And we had a uniform retail price across the country. So the price was fixed at
65 cents
per pound. So, and that's what it was all across the country. And like I said, this fish program.
Wait till you see this. About to show you the real money now. The real money right here, man. Don't let no one tell you otherwise. It's the real money right here.
So in 1975, the reports from International Trade Division shows that there was a $1 million profit off the fish in that 1975 years. And it breaks down the years and what for the whiting, the sardines, and the stuff like that at that time. So a lot of these records we were able to attain through the probate court case as it went down. So, and one of the other major money makers, or one of the things that drew a lot of wealth, was the Muhammad Speaks program,
the Muslim Journal,
or the Muslim Journal today. And Allah blessed us to at one point we were selling close to over 1 million papers per week.
You heard that? You heard that? Listen. Hold on, brother. Listen. 1 million papers per week, not per month, not per year, per week. We're going to see the breakdown by city in just a second.
Well, like some of the cities. Well,
Some
like
of the cities.
I said,
Some of the cities.
one of the cities. Well, Philadelphia was really, as they say, top of the clock. They were. We had 4 cities, I think, that were really competing and really at that level of 100,000 papers per week, and they were Philadelphia, New York. I want to say New York, Chicago, and maybe LA. I'm not sure, but I think all 4 of those cities were really trying to keep in the competition to keep up to 100,000. Just so happened that when the Imam took office, the city that really kept pace all the way through 75 happened to be Philadelphia. And they were doing 100,000 papers as we went into Savior's Day, 1976. They were still clocking over 100,000. And what we have here is some of the brothers who used to sell 500 more papers per week. And this is that club of those brothers out of Philadelphia that say sold 500 club.
500 club, not the 400 club, the 500 club.
But one of the other things is that we actually had brothers that was studying accounting and things like that in Philadelphia. And we had one brother, it was Brother Fred. Let me see if his brother was it Brother Fred.
Oh, is that the one that had the detailed? Is this the one where they have the detail minutes? Yes, Brother Fred. He has
Brother
the detail.
Fred. Yeah,
he has the detail minutes.
Brother Fred.
I mean, detailed audits, detailed accounting audits.
Right.
Detailed,
And
very
this
detailed.
is an actual report of the sales of that 100,000 papers in Philadelphia during one of those months. And he kept detailed records and graphs and things just with his different squads and all the stuff that was going on at that time.
Look at this percents breakdown, man. Beautiful accounting. This is bookkeeping.
And this was one of the things that really kept and it employed a lot of people. The newspapers and the program itself employed a lot of people. One of the other things, we go back here, in Philadelphia, they had a team. These brothers was this was a fish team in Philadelphia, and with the trucks and the vans. And what happened is when I talked with the captain in Philly, he said, if a brother did not have a job, we gave him a job. He was employed. He was, selling the fish, the pies, the juice, and the papers and the other things. And one of the other things that was really important, he said, if they had a job, we wanted them to keep their job. Stay with your job. But if you didn't have a job, we was going to give you a job. So we were providing jobs for people who did not have work at that time. And like I said, it was just so beautiful to see the things that were going on with the marketplace. So this employed a lot of people. The supermarket, the fish business employed a lot of people. And as we move along, this was the national flag, the new flag of the nation. When the Imam came in, before we had the Star Crescent, and then he changed the flag and the history with that.
And the Jubilee?
And the Jubilee. The Atlanta Jubilee I can't see the date on that. Was that
76?
76?
Yeah.
September 3rd.
September 3rd,
Ain't that
1976.
Wow. Okay.
1976.
Okay. At that Jubilee, which was in Atlanta, I know we chartered planes to go down there. At that Jubilee, on the back of this paper, you'll see an image and a picture of the founder of the Nation of Islam, Professor Muhammad Abdullah, or the man that we call Farad Muhammad.
Right.
I think it's on the other side of that. But he was also there at that time.
As Muhammad Abdullah.
As Muhammad Abdullah at that time. Yeah. So when Imam Muhammad came into office, we set up committees or set up shura. And you had different committees in Chicago. This happened to be the Public Information Bulletin, and which really deals with a lot of the stuff that was going on in those committees at that time. In 1975, Savior's Day, they had put out the history of the Nation of Islam, which is about an hour and a half documentary, which is very good. It covered the history of the community, a lot of interviews with a lot of the pioneers who were there at that time. It showcased a lot of the good video of the businesses and a lot of the things that was going on. And it talked about the the mission itself and the movement, how the movement started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So lights went down.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. So, well, I'm gonna let you take a dive at that. And this was a coin. Read that.
It's the coin, commemorative coin. It says, "Unite to reconstruct our American lives." This is June 7th, 1977, and it reads the following: "The real issues that concern us and affect our social and economic destiny and the destiny of our children's children are vital to all and are more profound than any ideological differences that we may have. Our enemy is not the free world or the communist world, nor Christianity, Judaism, or any other religion. It is ignorance, racism, oppression, greed, and corruption. To eliminate these enemies, we must remake the world and establish truth, justice, opportunity, and compassion for all people. I have wholeheartedly accepted this mission with the guidance of Allah. Please join me and unite to reconstruct our American lives." Imam Warafati Muhammad, the Hyatt Regency, Chicago, June 7th, 1977.
I mean, did he hit it right on the head?
Hit it right on the head.
2021? Is that what we facing right now?
Yep.
We right there. We right there. I mean, so from the time he came in office, he began to clear up the confusion in our understanding of Islam. And the law, through the law's mercy and forgiveness, he allowed our community to transition to the best practices of Islam. But he also did something else. He helped to clear up some of the confusion in Christianity.
Yes.
And we talked about this, and you talk about the white supremacy. You talked about the image.
The removing of racial racism in the divine. Great movement.
Right. So it's just so beautiful to see how our community has transitioned to where we are today. Not looking, and like I said, in 1976, 4th of July, he said, we ready. And in fact, when this pandemic hit, think about this. Our community, our professionals, our doctors, our scientists, they were out front and they were providing information to us, helping not only our community, but the broader community in trying to help stem and shut down this virus. And still today, they've been on the front lines. And that's what we've been doing. The whole 90 years of this mission is about freedom, justice, and equality, and about trying to bring about peace and tranquility in the world. And the world knows we are very peaceful people. So I'm just going to go in this book here, probably maybe 300-400 images of our community. So hopefully this will be part of another program as you guys begin to open up and do this. This is another part of our history that really is, to explain it, to say it, it just happened. We just was unfortunate that our own government was trying to undermine our growth and development. But let's just be real about it. And you're hearing about it today. And in fact, the programming that's out today, the documentaries, MLK, and FBI, Fred Hampton?
The Judas,
right.
Black Messiah.
And then the new program, the letter that was just released the other day about El Haji Malik Shabazz and trying to undermine. Unfortunate that these things happen, but they were real. They happened. The government did infiltrate our movement, and they did cause a lot of damage. And their goal was to make sure that they stripped the economic base of the community. And they thought that they did it through the probate court, but we're actually stronger now than we've ever were before. And now it's just a matter of us getting back to where we need to be at on an economic basis, because all the other areas we've covered, education, media, all of the things, our understanding of Islam, we need to get back into building and rebuilding our brain.
Well, on that note,
right here.
Smack dab right here. Right here. This beautiful illustration by our brother Majid.
Eugene Majid, and like I said, the graphic artist and that department from the Muhammad Speaks, they did a fantastic job.
I mean, when I look at this, mean, when I look at this brother's artwork and the brother's artwork back then, and the brothers and sisters working with them, it's so simple but yet so profound.
Right.
So simple but yet so profound. And you told us, maybe I'll allow you to break down the picture, but this is the farmer. This is that agriculture. This
And
is
that's what
that
we need to be in. We need to be growing.
This is Abel, and this is, you could say this is Cain. This is the industry, the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, building cities, building model communities. And they both meet and they both shake hands. They complement each other.
Mm-hmm. And it's all part of what we were trying to do. The vision. Mm-hmm. One of the other pieces that we have here is we just compiled this. This is basically just illustrations from that newspaper at that time, part of that history. And I think Sister Aisha Mustafa says it best when she says that the newspaper is a rough draft of our history. Mm-hmm. And you'll cover a lot of this. You'll see a lot of the graphics, a lot of the things were there, but then there's so many other things.
Dig into the earth for self. Mm-hmm. Come on. Look at simple graphics but profound messages. Get busy. Get your hands, get your exercise the green thumb. This is the green thumb. Doing for self. We got the tractor trailer there. Come on.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful illustrations.
And this is like for the children that are here today. This is all part of as they talk about the graphics, learning. And now what you're moving now with the children now is through science and technology. Mm-hmm. You're moving in terms of employment opportunities. When you start to look up here, and we're just going to go up, it says re-educate the Negro so that he can qualify for his own future.
Powerful.
And as you can see, it's talking about technology. It's talking about information technology. It's talking about cyber. You look at that today, you see cybersecurity. You see all of those things in that.
See all the brothers. all the brothers.
And sisters. We don't have sisters in there, but the sisters are there. She'll be there too.
That's right.
Right. So you're looking at all of this. And like I said, when you look at all of this, it's talking about trade, commerce, industry. Mm-hmm. It talks about like the bakery. We was producing our own bread, manufacturing our own bread. And you know the famous bean pie. I mean, that spoke for itself. So, and when you look at this history, you can just see how it plays out. These two books right here, Imam Muhammad Speaks in Harlem, New York. These books, I would recommend that WDN Publishing Company reprint these books because they have a wealth of knowledge in them and a lot of our history. Imam Muhammad goes over a lot of that in these two books. This document right here, this was pulled from the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. And just to show you, this was the 1976 Savior's Day address. Imam Muhammad spoke about the state of the nation. And
it's timely right now.
Timely right now. But at that time, he talked about the fact that the community was, what he inherited was a community that was heavily in debt. Mm. And that's what he talked about. And we started the austerity program at that time. But this was all part of that history that Sister Aisha talks about. This paper published and produced a lot of these articles about the history of our community, which is a rough draft. Now, this is what we talked about before.
Right.
On the back end.
The breakdown. Let's put it on the breakdown. Come on, bring it over. Let's see the breakdown, okay?
Now, what year was that?
This is February 27th. I think this
is 1976.
It's 1976, yeah.
And still holding at 100,000 was Philadelphia.
Philadelphia and New York, about 45,198. In Chicago, 28,000. Washington, 20. They said Newark came there with 13,500, and then after that, everyone trailing downward. And Brother Lester, I want to go back to your point about this report. Mm-hmm. You said the Imam said that he inherited a community that was in debt. Mm-hmm. And was that because of what took place with the probate situation and all that? What happened with? No,
actually, what happened was the fact that a lot of the resources that were coming into the community. One of the things as he goes into this and this address, he talks about when I went out to Chicago, we may have had close to 1,000 employees that was on the payroll. Mm-hmm. That was a whole lot of people. It's unsustainable. Mm. And Imam Muhammad wanted us to get back into the broader community, and which was a good thing. So we started the austerity program, and that took a lot of weight off. But you did have the pressure from the federal government and from the IRS, taxes, and all of those other things that were pressing. So so that was part of that. But he goes into just what was going on and how the community actually was taken advantage of. When we go back and we look at this,
This is the Libyan.
the Libyan loan, a great gift from our Libyan brothers. It was a loan for close to $3 million. But what happens here is this: this loan was to purchase 7351 South Stony, which was a Greek Orthodox church with a school attached. So we got the loan from the Libyan government, which was an interest-free loan, and that's something that we needed: interest-free, free of interest. And you notice, so when this happened, although they thought that they may have had enough money to purchase 7351 South Stony, but those numbers went up. And Imam Muhammad will tell you that even in that State of the Nation address, how those numbers just went up for whatever reasons to purchase that property. And any properties and anything that we were trying to do, it was just costing a little bit more money to do what we normally would have been doing at that time. I don't know why. I think people were just trying to take advantage of our community at that time. So that's all part of that.
So that loan was forgiven.
Well, and here's the thing.
Or what?
All right, and I think it's in this book here.
Okay.
That was a question I had. That was one of the questions that was answered, I think, in one of these books. I can't think of where it was at, but that Libyan loan was one that I often wondered, did we ever really repay that loan? And the answer is no. What happened was that Imam Muhammad said he went back over to Libya. And he told the Libyan government that the community was heavily in debt. And the Libyan government told him the loan is forgiven. It's going back to the Quran and Sunnah, talking about how we handle our finances and those ayahs in the Quran dealing with our economic situation. This book right here, we talked about this. 1975, October, and you have that audio clip. You should play that.
We will.
He said, listen, he said, put down my father's books. He never even wrote them. He said, you might be amusing yourself, but you won't be helping me. He said, teach from this book. And in this book, there's a whole section dealing with Islamic economics that we should be looking at even today. And these books, we would distribute these books all across the country. I know Chicago had them. I'm sure we shipped them out. And I'm sure we ship these books out all across the country through the Sakat propagation account. And so they're in your libraries, they're in your schools, they're in home libraries. Pick this book up again and read that section on Islamic economics. We were out front. And in fact, when you go back and you look at it, this loan here, which was an interest-free loan, the USA Today had an article a few years back. It said modern-day Islamic financing took root in Dubai in 1975. When was the date that check was cut?
Check was cut on May 8th, 1972.
And that's something? That was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to our community. Not only did we get that gift, but he gave us a man who told us what? He said, you're independent thinking Muslims. So that was just a couple of gifts that he gave us. Independent thought, also the fact that you're leading the way as far as Islamic economics. And that was all part of our history. So we need to pick up on this. This is something that we just can't just say, okay, we're going the way of the world. We have to look at this. One of the other things that Imam Muhammad talked about. I think this is it here. In 1977, February the 23rd, this is the transcript. I was with one of the Pioneer brothers. One day I was over his house, and he said, hold up. Like you said, he went upstairs, and he got this document. And this document was when Imam Muhammad first resigned from the administrative duties of the World Community of Islam in the West. And in this document, he talks about setting up the committee, setting up Shura. You already had the Council of Imams going at that time. But he also said he would like to thank the scholars for the great work that they've done. But he said it's time for us to make a contribution.
So can we just answer the question for the audience who may not know as to why the Imam left the administrative post for the world community?
Well, you had, and in fact, he says it here. You had more qualified people in that business world and could deal with the day-to-day problems that we were bringing in. And he wanted to actually to sit down to do more work as far as translation of the Quran in English, the hadiths. Those are the things that he wanted to do. But he couldn't do them with every day, all of the problems coming to him on that side. He said, I'm here, but I said, a lot of you imams and a lot of the business people, you're more qualified and you can answer all of these questions that they're bringing to me. You need to step it up. And that's what he did. This is another document here, transcript of September the 9th, 1975. This was Imam Muhammad at 7351 South Stony spoke with the sister captains. We still had the captains at that time. And at that time, this is when he started to talk to us about building model communities.
And he's talking to the sisters here.
He's talking to the sisters. I'm telling you first. He said, I'm letting you know that the head of the community. And he went into detail as to what he was looking at and what he wanted to do and the vision that he had. And it was consistent all the way up until the last khutbah he gave on August the 31st, 2008. When you listen to that khutbah, and I was sitting there, when I heard it, when I heard him say, and I'm just paraphrasing, he said, we should look back at that model that was established in Medina, our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Look at that model. And let's not deviate and go back into darkness after we have been guided aright. When you go back and you get the whole thing is there. WD Publishing has that that right there. So we've grown. We're ready. We've been servicing the needs of the community. Our nonprofits have stepped up during this pandemic time, during this unsettling times. We are really moving, and we just need to be moving more, in my opinion, on growth, economic development, building communities, setting up model communities. We're going to walk on over a little bit more, and I think we're here now. Yeah. And let's go here.
Okay, we're gonna
and
go,
maybe
are we gonna go to the infamous letter?
Actually, you want to do that?
Yeah. Let's walk on over to the infamous
on top of the trash. That's what
let's put the trash here. The infamous letter
put them in there
from J. Edgar Hoover, who was in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and this is how wicked the scheme was. This is wicked. Look at the language, and then we're gonna go to the Imam. This is how he addressed it. But first, let's read from Mr. Hoover. Although the Nation of Islam does not at present advocate violence by its members, the group does preach hatred of the white race and racial separatism. The membership of the NOI is organized and poses a real racial threat. The NOI is responsible for the largest Black nationalist newspaper. That's what they call Muhammad Speaks, a Black nationalist newspaper, which has been used by other Black extremists, quote unquote. The NOI appears to be, look at this language, the NOI appears to be the personal phenom of Elijah Muhammad. When he dies, a power struggle can be expected, and the NY could change direction. We should be prepared for this eventuality. We should plan how to change the philosophy of the NOI to one of strictly religious and self-improvement orientation, deleting the race hatred and separate nationhood aspects. In this connection, Chicago should consider what counterintelligence action might be needed now or at the time of Elijah Muhammad's death to bring about such a change in the NOI philosophy. Important considerations should include the identity, the strengths, the weaknesses of any contenders for NOI leadership. This is how they do you. Fragment you. What are the positions of our top level informants in regards to leadership, and how could potential leaders be turned or neutralized? The alternative to changing the philosophy of the NOI is the destruction of the organization. This might be accomplished through what? Generating factionalism. Factions among the contenders for Elijah Muhammad's leadership, or through legal action in probate court, which they did on his death. Chicago should consider the question of how to generate the factionalism necessary to destroy the NOI by splitting into several groups. Here comes the Imam. This is the Imam's quote addressing this. I believe that the intelligence department infiltrated the movement with persons that would demoralize and contribute to the lowering of the moral life of staff members, of lieutenants, of captains, of ministers, so that the moral life would be weakened first. Because you have to weaken the moral life of people before you can get them to do the wrong things. And I believe, whether it can be proven or not, that they themselves are responsible for a lot of that moral deterioration that came into the Nation of Islam during the late 60s and the early 70s. They are also responsible for the crime that was committed by the Muslims, and I believe that was part of their program, to just weaken the organization and create an image of us that would justify their program to really unestablish African Americans who were doing something to establish themselves financially and to get some dignity as poor people. Moving right along.
Well, you said a whole lot there, Bilal. This was one of the early publications, the Messengers, the magazine. But in this, and this is very delicate, but I want you just to take a look at some of the images that were in here. Really, it talks about really a lot about trade and commerce, business, manufacturing, the business of the tailoring. I mean, it was just really part of the early part of what we were involved in. The school, it has a lot with the schools, but we have to really protect this and make sure that we make copies of this and get this out of the get it out of human hands and just put this together. But this is actually, these images are really beautiful when you start to look at it, and hopefully this will be part of the digital slideshow that you guys put together later on. This yearbook here, and like I said, a lot of the pioneers recognize that they're getting older, and they know that a lot of the materials that they had that were very valuable are getting to a point where they may not be able to, these materials may not be preserved. And so what they've done is they've tried to get this stuff in our hands and donate it so that we can preserve it and make sure we maintain it. When I got this book, and this book came from yearbook from 1965, came from a brother in Lansing, Michigan. And when I looked at it, we noticed inside that book, autographed by Muhammad Ali, 65 yearbook. This is a yearbook out of Chicago. And you can see when you look in this yearbook, and I'm gonna go to some of the student activities. some of the things that were going on at that time. And some of the, you had the sciences, you had English history, reading, typing, phonics, shop. You had shop.
Mm.
You had the shops going on. And you had a barber. You had barbershop. So I think some of your sons are into that.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, they're the young barbers.
Right.
You're waiting for my cut.
and sitting in this chair, a lot of people know his dad for sure. But this is Alan Omar from Omar the Now.
No.
Yes. That's Alan. And you had the home economics for the sisters, constantly training, preparing them, phys ed, drilling.
That's our pictures.
That's it. And physical fitness, the arts.
Mm.
And this is a photograph taken outside of 53rd and Greenwood. And again, you have holding that flag is Alan Omar. Omar the Now.
Mm-hmm.
And the other brothers, Alvin, Douglas, Lawrence, and Johnny Lee. And you had the arts.
Look at that. Nice.
So
Nice.
all of this is all part of that history. And we need to, like I said, continue to keep building on it. Science fairs.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing a lot of good things there. And this was a private school, not funded by state, federal government, private donations. And a lot of times you hear people talk about, well, you made a lot of sacrifices, people weren't getting paid, but these were people that were dedicated to educate our children. One of the students, and many of them, one of the students that came out of this is a sister in Chicago, and I really enjoy listening to her. This is a beautiful photograph of the in the school in the auditorium. That's Elijah Muhammad on the stage, and that's the children. But one of the sisters that I really enjoy listening to is one of the students that went to the school at that time at the Greenwood was Dr. Lynn Muhammad.
Dr. Lynn Muhammad, yeah.
And I think if she has not retired, she may be still heading that STEM department or the science department at Whitney Young High School in Chicago. And we have two other yearbooks here, 1970 and 1973. Both of these, again, part of the archives and the history of our community. In 1975, the committees that were set up actually, I think, put this book together. This wasn't widely distributed across the country, but I know we had it in Chicago. And one of the things in that last paragraph, I think we read this, Bilal, I told you to take a look at this again. But this is, and you want to read some other stuff, but
yeah. It says, during the first 12 months of leadership under Imam Muhammad, membership of the work community of Al-Islam increased 40%. Increased, not decreased, increased by 40%. Its influence is now being recognized in all aspects of the society as its membership accepts the Imam's call to accept the mission of Khalifa for the entire world.
And that was, like I said, this is what Imam Muhammad wanted us to do. He wanted to make sure that we were leading, taking charge, and that's what we were trained to do. I often tell people, the brothers that we soldiered with and sisters, I said, we were prepared to do a job. And I said, really, right now, the 90-year history of the Nation of Islam really was actually just preparing us for the work still yet to be done here in 2021 and beyond. The world's looking for leadership. We know the new administration that said we want to build it back better. But what is that saying that Einstein says? How's it go?
Just said it to me earlier.
about
No, not that one. Not that one.
It's about doing the same thing
Not that one.
and expecting the same results.
No, not that one.
Not that one.
Brother just sent it to me this morning.
What is it, man? Come on,
I got it.
stop holding out on the goods, man.
Here we go.
It's something, man. I'm gonna tell you something. So we right there. We right on time. We in position.
We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them.
Okay. So who has new thinking? Who has a new mind? Who's on the block right now that can really step up? Who's not only this wasn't something that was in theory. This was something real. And we know that we, unfortunately, our own government tried to undermine our growth and development.
Mhm.
But now we still stand. So they had a plan, but we know God is the best of planners.
Mhm.
A couple
Absolutely.
of other books that it came out. Imam Muhammad had a lot of books that came out,
Mhm.
but this was one of the first ones that came out.
The
The teachings of W.D. Muhammad. And after that, we went away
It's
from
an activity book.
that language.
You show the activities, the crossword. No, I'm saying it's good. It's really I've never seen it before. So when I saw it, I was like, you know, there's something cool. I think for all ages. And still, some people love crossword puzzles. I love crossword puzzles.
Are you good?
Yeah, man.
But we got.
But no, seriously though, it's I think
It's interactive.
It's interactive.
Yeah.
You know, seriously. I mean, for all ages, you want something interactive to communicate the message. Look, and it gives you a test after the chapters. It's literally it's literally a textbook. That's what it says, right?
Yeah,
it's a textbook. It's literally a textbook.
Digitized.
One of the things that once this book was published, it became in our community a #1 bestseller. In fact,
Really?
I think what happened was
What happened?
the brother who was when these books were published, initially published, they went back to the publisher and they said we needed to order some more books.
Yeah.
So the publisher asked, he said, "You sold all those books already?" Yeah. He said, "You know, that's a #1 bestseller that you got there." I'm not sure if it was this one or the lecture, but one of these two books, all of the, it was just, you know, the amount of books and publications that we were selling at that time was just unreal.
But Brother Leslie, you told me too that there was a little discrepancy as to the Imam change.
He wanted to make sure, crystal clear, that, you know, he is a follower of Imam of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings on people. Clear up any confusion that you may have. Isn't that my teachings? He's a follower, and also that he is a follower of Prophet Muhammad. So just to clear up any confusion, the next book that came out
was the lectures
of Imam Muhammad, and that was the next in that series when they came out with the books after that. This was another publication.
I didn't see this one before.
Yeah, this is the Nation.
I mean, I've seen this picture with Anwar Sadat.
Yeah, this is the Nation of Islam in Action, and this is really one of the other better books because this lays out. I think in this one, I said there's so many images in here that are just so beautiful. When you start to look at this, and you can see how the Imam was beginning to transition the community. Setting up the committees and setting up shore.
Sick, look at that. Hold on, Lester. Hold on. We need to get back to this. Let's remind the people. We had the sick committee. Purpose to visit the sick believers, assure their proper care. Accident and mishap committee. That's the purpose is to provide emergency help and relief in case of personal disasters such as fire, accident, death, etc. The Ways and Means committee. Purpose to establish a think tank or a brain trust for the mosque to develop a planned programs for the benefit of all the believers to serve as a channel for identifying resources for the implementation of any other committee projects. The fourth one, the Child Interest Committee. The purpose is to ensure proper care and protection for the children of the mosque, both locally and nationally. The Fairness Committee, to investigate complaints of injustices among the believers. Public Information Committee, to gather news from all facets of the Bilalian Black community and the wider community, which may be of interest to the mosque body, to distribute information regarding available resources and assistance from other mosque committees. 7, Creations Committee, to review creative ideas and projects made by believers, recipes, artworks, and inventions. And lastly, the Censor Board for Cultural Development. The Nation of Islam must step forward in a leadership role to define the alternative culture and to censor the present culture. This committee is of extreme importance to all American people because it would monitor the Western culture in a way that no one else can do but us.
And that's something. And so when the committees were set up, and like I said, we set it up, says if you fail to plan,
you plan to fail.
You plan to fail. And you can go through this book, and this is another good piece not too many people seen it outside of Chicago. I don't know if it went too far out Chicago, but it was part of, and like into the community service piece, all of the things that we into the arts. It was just something, a lot of what we did during that time. Imam Muhammad with the children, a lot of people that you may know here. I'm just going through this at the Salam Restaurant, Cultural Center. All of this, some of the entertainers that performed at the Salam Restaurant, prison reform, out front, Sister Khalila Ali.
Women, our sisters, our beloved sisters.
I mean, this book here alone is just full of our history, full of what was going on, the fish program. There's so much. And this is at dinner again with the Imam serving the Pioneer Brothers at that time. So it's just so much that over the years that this community has, and the contribution that we've made. But really, we're about ready to make a whole bunch of new history. The first 90 years, it was just really, in my opinion, just preparing us for the work still yet to be done. So we're moving forward. Hopefully this year, as we set up the cooperatives, open up our credit unions, and start to rebuild our brand as far as moving forward in our community.
And this about wraps up Brother Lester's beautiful Balalian Night at the Museum Part 1. We have about to transition over to more specific contribution or to be continued, a more specific contribution to the Nation of Islam in New York or in Central PA, which will be tomorrow, God willing. So we'll have a more specific to this geographical region that we're in right now. We want to thank Brother Lester for again setting up this very beautiful exhibit. It's very much detailed. It's very much appreciated. Obviously, you have much more that you probably could have shared. And ideally, our history is so rich that if we can't condense it into an hour. We went an hour. This took us an hour to walk through this.
Well, are you serious?
It took us hour and 12 minutes. It took us an hour and 12 minutes to walk through this.
Man.
So just imagine, all the details, the finer details that we didn't cover. In the like you said, those 90 years.
There's so much more. And like I said, we're just beginning. This community is just really beginning. And really, it's about the youth. It's about the young people now. And what we're trying to do now is just to give this history, make sure it's preserved, make sure it's not lost, make sure it's not, we're telling our story. And I think all of this stuff that you see here is actually for the generations and the future researchers and people who want to take this history. And actually, you have a case study here.
Yes.
You have a case study of how to really do this thing right. You have both our strengths and our weaknesses. You've seen them all. You can go through our history with the economic development, setting up the national initiatives that we've had. You can see we've had some success, some failures. We've seen a whole lot. But we are ready to serve as we've been doing for the 90 years we've been here, fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. One other thing I want to show you before. This was the bonus piece. Wow.
Oh, this is a bonus piece. This is a bonus piece.
Yeah, take a seat on this one. Take a seat on that one.
Bonus piece, Brother Lester.
I'm gonna let you take this, Bilal.
Okay.
Now, this is a letter that this was even before I was born.
Oh, don't bust.
This was September 19th, 1952.
Whoa, this is from.
And this was a letter from Elijah Muhammad to Sister Fern. Sister Fern was the principal of the school in Detroit. And I'm gonna let you take it from there, Bilal. This is the original letter.
Okay.
And be gentle, man.
Be gentle with this.
That oil on your grease.
You don't want no oil on that.
Got that shea butter.
Did you have some shea
Put on
butter?
that shea butter.
Oh,
Give me that shea butter. Get the gloves for the brother.
Let me put it back in the jacket.
You put it back in the jacket.
Oh, man.
It's dry, man.
Well, I don't know. I can. You're sparkling and everything, man.
It's dry, man.
Oh,
Brother is shining.
But this is some of the stuff that we went through. During
Also
that
point out that the distinction in.
we'll go over that
okay.
too. Go ahead, but I'll let you read that letter.
This letter is from.
Supreme Wisdom. I can start from the top. Okay, Supreme Wisdom.
Oh, sorry.
Come on, man.
Okay, the Supreme Wisdom. Do I have to read the whole
No,
thing?
just
Okay, Supreme Wisdom. Miss Fern X. Okay, 22232 Gladstone Avenue, Detroit 6, Michigan. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, all praise is due to Allah forever, the Lord of all the worlds. Dearest Sister Fern, just a few lines to let you hear from me concerning the few questions and your answer to the devils. Now, dear sister, your answers were very good. But remember, you must have teachers that is capable as well as yourself. Now, they were right when they said that they too have a job to do. When they turn children over to another school or teachers, they must know the qualification of the other, the different grades and courses that the school teaches. I don't think you have nothing to fear about the qualification of your teachers, so long as they have high school education. The devil will give our children over to the you and I, excuse me, as long as your teachers are qualified. Always tell them the courses that you teach and the teacher's qualification. Fear not, you are the righteous. Best love and wishes to you all. Assalamu alaikum, your brother, Elijah Muhammad.
Now, another thing about the fact that when you look at this, number one, this was an independent school system, not getting state, federal funds, but the state and the government wanted to know what the heck was, and this was all part of that struggle at that time. But Elijah Muhammad really understood what was going on, but he said, listen, and he was really saying, okay, just be cool. Okay, they're not going to do anything. And that's the type of person that he was. He knew, and the government knew that we weren't a threat, and we were just trying to do what we wanted to do. It was just harassing us at that time. But there's something else interesting about this letter. Look at how he writes out his name in this letter.
Oh, this is spelled, Elijah Muhammad spelled his name, by the way, Mohammed.
No, M-O, right?
Yeah. There's no M-U-H.
M-O.
M-O.
Now let's go back. Now let's look at this letter. This was in September?
September 18th, 1952. Let's go over and see.
Yeah, let's look at this letter that when he authorized John Ali to go pick up that check from the Libyan loan.
This is 72.
72. So 20 years later.
He changed it to M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D?
That's it.
But I thought on his license.
Yeah, it was that one. But the man was saying that the correct pronunciation.
M-O-H-A-M-M-E-D, right? Okay.
So this was a little extra bonus piece that was in. And Sister Fern was Sister Tahita Mahmoud. I met her in Chicago in 1975, working on the secretarial staff at 7351 South Stony. And just to say, that sister, along with others like Sister Marjorie Hussein, Sister Patricia Alameen, you had Sister Beatrice Holliday, you had so many beautiful sisters that would just share history with me about the community. I remember when I first got to Chicago, there was a brother, FOI secretary, Brother Henry, or Brother Abdel Shabazz. And I would just spend hours with him, and he would just go over the history of the community. When I was working over at the National House, Captain Edward Ali, one of the other pioneers, I would just spend time with him in the breakfast nook. And he used to like those beef sausages. So we would have lunch or breakfast or whatever. And he would just share a lot of the history. And I was wondering why, because this was still not really what I wanted really, but it just happened that this is just something that we got involved in. But and I often wondered why are you telling me all this stuff at such a young age? I'm only a teenager, 2021, but I see now. It was to really just to be a trustee or a custodian of these materials and these things. And as we begin to reach the new younger people out here in the audience and in the history, just to maintain our history and to preserve it and to protect it. So that's basically what we all are, just trustees of this legacy and this history and passing it on. But the key thing is now is that we have to go back out, rebuild our brain, and reestablish these things because the world needs our help now more than any other time. And we're ready. In fact, Imam Muhammad said it on the 4th of July, 1976. He said, we're ready then. All right, that's all I got.
That's all you got.
It's time for me to shut it down for the night.
Can we get all the young people? Not yet. All the young people, can y'all come up so we can take a picture with Brother Lester?
We appreciate Brother Lester for, again, giving this historical recollection, this major historical recollection tonight, this evening. We appreciate all our listeners for tuning in to New Freedom Exchange and for the Bilalian Night at the Museum, part 1, before our dear beloved Brother Lester. Tomorrow we have part 2 with Brother John, who will be more specific and giving us more information about the Nation of Islam as it pertains to here in Central PA and what has occurred here in the history. And this is our future. This is the generation now. We call it the generation now. Another future generation. The generation now. The generation Adam. The generation Ibrahim. The generation Cain's and the Abels. The future agricultures and industry people. All of that. At the end, you want to give your last remarks?
No, so we'll continue part 2, God willing, tomorrow. Just thank you for all you who tuned in and will tune in the future. This is the future today. Say, who wants to say 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3.
We didn't get Marsha. What are you doing, man?
Sorry. Close remarks.
Thank you all for tuning in. This has been an eye-opening experience for all of us. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I learned a lot, for sure. And even for the children in the room, although sometimes it's hard to keep children's attention, I can tell that at certain moments they were very intrigued by the information that was being shared. And it's just important for us to reiterate our history to them and even to ourselves so that we know just how far we've come and what work needs to happen in order for us to go forward and for our children to learn and understand the significance of the work that was put in so that they can then take it forward with the resources that God has put inside them in order for them to move our community forward. So again, thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We ask that you would come back to be with us tomorrow as we discuss further the history, our history in York. So we're going to learn a little bit about what the Nation of Islam, the transition into the leadership of Imam Wahiduddin Muhammad was like here in York. So we asked you to come back and be a part of that with us.
One more thing we wanted to, if Brother Lester could just share the importance of this book, because all of us have these names and they didn't come from nowhere.
That's right. This came out, I think in this is one of the early publications that came out too. And I think what happened here was, I'm trying to think if I remember right. This was a publication that was done by Muhammad's Mosque number 2 in Chicago. And I want to say this was one of the early publications that came out. The name changes. Imam Muhammad had asked us to, if your name was connected with slavery, wanted you to change part of that. And so this was one of those early publications that came out. And there's also a tape that goes along with that. And I have the tape there too. So this is one of those books that we were selling at that time. And this was under, I think, the actual Nation of Islam. This publication was through Mosque number 2. This was not an original piece from the WD and Publishing Company.
All right. Thank you again for tuning in. 1, 2, 3. New Freedom Exchange.
Come on, guys. Come on, what happened?
You were supposed to give us what to say, then we could say it all together.
Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3.
New Freedom Exchange. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
We out? Yeah.
They ask me about religion, why? They ask me about my race and my tribe. They ask about my complexion, why? When they ask me, this is what I say. My grandfather was a Muslim, and my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth, and the Quran gave the answer. They put their hands up to the sky, and they ask the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation, we only pray to the Creator. Guidance is a gift that the Lord shall give to any man or woman, whether small or big. God said you must reflect, you have to use your mind. So now you know the reason why. My grandfather was a Muslim, and my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth. In the Quran they found the answer. They put their hands up to the sky, and they asked the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation, we only pray to the Creator. The messenger of God, the best of creation. Peace and blessings be upon him and his whole nation. He came to teach the world, came to free our souls, and the charity comes from a smile. So when you see me on the road, give me a smile. I say salam alaikum to my brothers, why? Cause it's peace for you and it's peace for me. Peace from my granddaddy. My grandfather was a Muslim. My daddy was a Rasta. My daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth. Yeah. In the Quran they found the answer. They put their hands up to the sky. And they asked the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation. We not gonna worship the creation. We only pray to the Creator. We only pray to the Creator. My grandfather was a Muslim. And my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth. In the Quran they found the answer. They found what they were looking for. They put their hands up in the sky, and they asked the Lord why. We not gonna worship the creation. We only pray to the Creator. We only pray to the Creator. Grandfather was a Muslim, and my daddy was a Rasta. They were searching for the truth, and the Quran gave the answer. They put their hands